fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go. Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
We're getting down to the closing stages of the championship, and many of the contenders have decided this track is not the place to be at. It's a small track. It is all conjoined and pretty much tightly knit in together. It's got very difficult sections of road, especially on the updated layout, which has been known from the back of drivers' hands to now just a little bit different on the brakes a bit earlier. This is a tall order place. This is a tough challenge today. This is what these Australian touring cars know that they need to do. They need good laps, and it's at tracks like this where racing like this tends to shine. Lakeville, Connecticut, Lime Rock Park, round 10 of the championship, ladies and gentlemen, here on the iRacing Esports Network, a SimSpeed TV presentation. It's Jake Sperry here in the commentary box, joined by Cam Dance alongside me. Qualifying times coming in, and 2/10 clear of the field in qualifying is a man needing to get big results on a lower strength of field today. That is James Scott, but he's got unfamiliar territory behind, like Corey Shepherd in second, Casey Mann in fourth. This is a very jumbled up field tonight.
Yeah, it certainly is. There is a number of drivers in here that you're familiar with, and a number of drivers that you've probably seen for the first time. So it's a very mixed up field, and going to be a very, very interesting race to see what happens and who comes out on top.
Brian Borg goes 14th fastest on a 51.6. So he'll have another lap, and the lap around here is incredibly short. We're talking about only 51 seconds to get yourself around through the left-hander and then in through this next right of turn number 4 out on track, through the no-name straight, or the isn't, as some would say, on the brakes. Now you got this very tough chicane, and Cam, this is where difficulty is going to be found, because that's all about torque up the hill.
Yeah, certainly. It's just getting the power down as early as you possibly can without spinning those wheels up, because if you spin those wheels up a little bit too much too early there on a number of occasions, you're going to be sitting duck for the rest of the lap, especially through a number of these high-speed turns where using those rears is going to be really critical to help and get the car off the corner and turn as well.
Well, more improvement, 51.671 is enough to stay 13th there for Borg at the moment. In terms of drivers out on track, there are none available who can set a lap. Only Alan Dawson in the number 24 can go out and set a lap time, but has at this moment in time decided not to at this moment. And we're talking about a field here, Cam, which really is looking like it's being shaken up. We've got drivers up and down the order, drivers with high numbers, drivers with low numbers up near the top. For example, you got Scott Gamble inside the top 10, Kyle George inside the top 5, inside the top 6 even. Got Casey Mann up there in 4th position. You've got drivers who maybe don't find themselves at the top very often, but at a short track where all the margins are reduced, they get that big push forward.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, this short track with 50-second one lap time, it just compresses the field dramatically. I mean, we've seen it at various other sort of short or less technical layouts, such as Watkins Glen Cup layout and various others, and it just really compresses the field incredibly tight, and yeah, just gives everybody almost an equal chance at sort of going for victory, more or less.
And going for victory is what these drivers will do. So, time has expired in terms of getting a lap time out for Alan Dawson. In terms of the field, everyone's set a lap time with 1 minute and 10 seconds left to go who wants to. So, we can call a grid at this moment in time. James Scott, who needs the result today, is on pole position, 51.033. He's light years in terms of Lime Rock speeds ahead of anybody else. Corey Shepherd is 2/10 back there on a 51.232. Andrew Dyson starts this one in 3rd with Casey Mann in 4th. Jack Widdust up there in 5th place with Kyle George in 6th. Adam Briggs starts this one in 7th with Rob Bowden in 8th. Nathan Moore starting this one from 9th, and Scott Gamble, well, he'll try his luck from 10th place.
And in row number 6, it is going to be Michael Rosenblatt and Steve Janssen, followed by Brian Borg and Thomas McMillan on row 7. Row 8 is going to be Kane Hewson and Alexander Chang, followed by Sebastian Texier and Henry Michaela on row 9. And rounding out the top 20 on row 10, Wayne Hewitt and Marty Hansen.
Dylan Gulson starts from the blackjack position in 21st, and you could say two little ducks in bingo terms for Christian Smart. He goes from 22nd. Greg Sharp there and Samuel Collins, they are on row 14, and the final driver will be Alan Dawson, starting this one today from the 25th place on the grid. 101 drivers were found to be split between 4, so 25 here in this one, and there'll be a 26 somewhere else in the field later on for the other splits that are going on. And this is one of the cool things actually about this series, because this is a track which is a lot closer, a lot more compact. But normally we see 100 people and you've got some of the big names, Madison Down, Richard Hampstead and co, and you've got a really big scrap to get in. You need 3,000 plus in terms of your iRacing to get in. Here you need 2.5 maybe to get in, and you still got 100 people.
Yeah, it's a really weird track. I mean, it's no Bathurst or Phillip Island or something everybody sort of knows and loves sort of tracks. So it's one of those oddball tracks that you more or less show up to, and you can surprisingly end up in a split you don't actually end up think you're going to end up in. So it's, a really mixed up field tonight, and there's going to be a number of drivers, obviously, who have been around this track before, and everybody's going to know what they're doing, really.
Exactly, and that's going to be the key. The run towards turns 1 and 2, the big bend, is going to be a key factor for this one. Starts in these vehicles, they have a line locker that's available to them, effectively the handbrake, so to speak, but all these drivers know with 2 minutes to grid up, they will be made to wait by the man who wants to take the championship lead back again after having control of it for so many weeks of this championship, that being car number 1. James Scott. And of course, with pretty much all of his rivals deciding, you know what, today ain't worth it, there are drivers who are pretty much out of the title hunt, one of whom is Cooper Webster, who was looking like he was going to put on a turn of pace. But onto the grid now comes James Scott in that Logitech G Altus Esports car. It's only very weird to think that it's only been 3 weeks since he's joined that team. Green flag. Let's get ourselves going. Slow start, though, from the second and the first row. Shepherd and Mann struggling there as they go through. Shepherd really losing back 3-4 positions. Briggs got, Dyson, got a good start. Briggs doing okay as well as they head themselves in through turn number 1. Off of the track goes one in the background there. That's not going to be very useful moving forward to be out on that grass, which feels like ice when you go out there. That's Steve Janssen who's going to have to try and go the long way through this field. Some side-by-side, though, still, so they head up towards the next section. This is Kyle George in the team hyperdrive car, trying to find a way past Casey Mann, but Mann holds on.
Yeah, he certainly does. He's doing a really, really good job as Casey Mann at the moment to hold off the car of Kyle George, and everybody else sort of still scrapping themselves out. Brian Borg battling with Michael Rosenblatt and co just further back, and Brian Borg just holding off and getting the job done. But James Scott is absolutely checked out from the entire field.
Absolutely, he is flying, and drivers are looking to fly into turn number 1 now with a good opportunity of a move. Here's 2 wide, 2 deep. Borg trying to get through on Rosenblatt. That worked. Wide goes McMillan on the brakes. Here comes Texier looking to try and get the move done. And, well, has he got exactly what he wants from Club Asia? Is Sebastian Texier, and he's looking for the outside here of the left-hander. He's got the inside here, though, for turn 4. They're going to run close together, and round goes Texier there on the inside. He's able to keep it out of the barriers. He had an acre to work with, one of the larger places you can get away with things, but look at where he's dropped out now. He's right near the back of the field.
Yeah, he certainly is. He's way down the order now, and he's really going to struggle to try and make any gains from here, and going to come under pressure from Stevie Janssen as well. We ended up off the road earlier, but nevertheless, there's still plenty of laps to go, and every chance that you can gain some positions.
Well, every position is going to be vital. These vehicles are fuel limited to 80% of the tank as they push on forward. It's a 35-lap race, and they're already on lap 3 of them, ladies and gentlemen, at the moment. If you haven't already, like, share, and subscribe. The iRacing Esports Network, the road to 50,000 subs, it continues right now after a bumper week of sim racing with the iRacing Indianapolis 500. There is so much more available the longer that racing goes on here on this network. Look at the battles though going on right now. Corey Shepherd trying to get back into the mix here. He's in a train with Adam Briggs, Rob Bowden, Kyle George, Casey Mann trying to break away at this moment in time from it, but this is the pack where you're going to try and find pushing's going to be a thing. Look at that, there were 2 times on the grass. There's commitment from Corey Shepherd.
Yes, certainly, and it's just that little bit trying to push that little bit extra harder is going to cost you dearly if you end up just going that 1 or 2% too far and end up dropping 2 wheels on and possibly putting yourself in the wall if you're not careful. So we'll see what happens here, but Dawson in the wall on the front straight. What has happened there?
Oh, a big incident then for him. Alan Dawson's run into trouble. The Motum Simulation replay. There was contact with Steve Janssen. He lost it all by himself. And then Janssen, he looked like he had his own issue there as he just went into the side. And Janssen, I think, just able to get going. That was really weird. Steve Janssen driving straight into the side. The only thing I can think of Steve Janssen, because he is a good guy when he goes and races, is that he was predicting the car to come back across the circuit again. And it just simply put didn't.
Yeah, it certainly looks like that way, but the car of Alan Dawson luckily putting his foot hard on the brake to lock all 4s up, but unfortunately Steve Janssen coming off their second best just primarily due to the fact that he didn't quite realise that the car was going to end up putting the brakes on, so fortunate for Steve Janssen there, but that battle between the likes of George, Bowden and Briggs and Shepherd's really heating up now, and Bowden putting a lot of pressure on Kyle George.
Absolutely. Kyle George is looking behind and saying, well, this is a trial by fire. I wasn't expecting to be top split with car number 23 on me, and this is maybe a case to be made. Hyperdrive, a team that went dormant over the start of this year, didn't really see anything, but in terms of what they've been able to do, Cam, they've put in 5 or 6 new signings and pretty much have rebirthed the team, and drivers like Kyle George, who they want to prioritise on, young drivers who are going to be getting better and better over the next year or so. Drivers like Tom Freer who have come through the system. This is what we're seeing from Team Hyperdrive. This is what they want to go out there and improve with, and Kyle George is part of the process.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny how that sort of thing happens within sim racing, how your team sort of ends up in a bit of a mellow point and then you bring in new life and it suddenly lives it. So it's really just one of those weird things in sim racing where you can have a team that's suddenly nowhere and just comes back out of the blue and ends up somewhere. So we'll see what happens. But Kyle George with the mistake then, that's going to leave the door open for Bowden to try and get a move up the inside at the next corner. He's going to force the issue, try and hold on, uses a bit of curb, try and hold on, but Kyle George holding it around the outside, doing a fantastic job at Bowden back up the inside, and they're going to be 2x2 out of the final corner, and Kyle George still holding around the outside, and here comes Adam Briggs.
3 wide through the middle, thread it, why don't you? This is going to be all about who's the bravest here, and it's contact. Briggs is going to try and keep it on the island. He does so, but Bowden's got the move. George into contact and turned, and that's 2, 3 vehicles in the inside into the Armco. Disaster. Shepherd was one of them. The other one was Nathan Moore. Big disaster there, and it was all checking up.
Yes, certainly, and it was just that little bit of checking up that ended up causing that sort of incident. It's very easy to do here at Lime Rock Park, especially when the gaps are so close between everybody. But replay on screen, thanks to the modem simulation of this, you can see Briggs looking for a gap, sees the middle open up, parts the seas, and then just unfortunately has a little bit of contact with Rob Bowden as he tries to turn in for the corner, and from there it all turns to custard.
It certainly does. There you can see Adam Briggs just trying to cut his normal racing line. And there's 1, 2, 3 vehicles off on the inside, and that one hurts if you try and get yourself going through, because that was only the case, really, you could say, of fine margins, as I believe that's Thomas McMillan using the chrome horn to try and get past Michael Rosenblatt down at turn 2. That's not going to work, and he almost gets a horn back as Kane Hewson wants to try and find a way through, and Kane can't quite get the move done. So McMillan getting a little bit racy right now. He's up 5 places at the moment. Biggest mover in the field, though, right behind them. There's the Gone Rogue Motorsports car, Christian Smart. He's up half the positions he needs to in this race. He's up 11.
Yeah, Christian Smart on an absolute charge at the moment, trying to recover some positions after what was not too ideal of a qualifying, and is clearly showing why there's pace there.
Wayne Hewitt has been turned by Sebastian Tixier up out of the chicane, and that one all about power. Tixier got a fantastic run up the hill, and then ultimately when the corner covered, TTA, nowhere to go, decided, you know what, I'm just going to drive straight through the car.
Yeah, that's one of those another one of those weird incidents for this sort of track. Modem simulation replay of what happened on screen, and you can just see coming up the hill, Hewitt not quite getting the best run, but just a little bit of a better run for TTA and straight into the back of him, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's not brilliant driving, ladies and gentlemen, and it doesn't take a genius to work that one out. Gap, though, at the front of the field is absolutely massive for Lime Rock Park. James Scott, 51.6 that last time by Andrew Dyson. Matches that one with a 51.8. The gap now almost 4 seconds here in this one, and it is a walkaway. Now, here's the issue that James Scott's going to be having to worry about right now as Kane Houston lets through one Mr. That is Christian Smart. The issue's going to be lap traffic because this is a very narrow track. It's 2 wide, 3 wide at best. This is going to be a tough place to see overtakes happen, but when you get to lap traffic, you really need to be careful around Lime Rock.
Yeah, you certainly do, and you're going to have to kind of time your pit stop so you don't end up getting held up, but putting yourself in a bad position. As there actually isn't a pit stop, so nevertheless, it's really going to be very difficult to try and navigate your way through lap traffic. Scott's got a really good advantage at the moment, so can probably afford to be a little bit conservative with traffic, but he doesn't want to be too conservative, as Dyson clearly has some decent pace in that car that he's going to be able to use should Scott get held up.
Yes, but Dyson now over 4 seconds back. He's got work to do. Here comes Adam Briggs down the inside of Rob Bowden in the tanked SRT machine. And the move is done. The move is scored complete. And Adam Briggs finds himself inside the top 5 and +2 for the day as they head themselves through turn number 3. Now Briggs has got to get his head down. It's going to be a tough challenge to get back to Casey Mann. Allowed 3.6 seconds to go away after all the dramas earlier on. But Adam Briggs, he knows he's got about 25 laps to go out there and attack. But look at the train now behind Rob Bowden. There's Brian Borg, Michael Rosenblatt, Thomas McMillan. And then you got another 3-car train just behind him, which is, of course, Smart Houston and now Alexander Chang on the back.
Yeah, and Michael is not too far behind as well, so we'll see how that battle forms out, as he's the 10th quicker than that 3-car pack ahead of him as Michael is, so very much going to be a 4-car train if he can keep that pace up. But Borg really late on the brake slicks and inside front, trying to brake as late as he dares compared to Rob Bowden, but can't quite get it done in the end, and now he's going to come under pressure from Rosenblatt.
Exactly, that's trying to find a nose down to the inside, couldn't quite get there at that section. You really do need to start playing chess around this place, because it's all about the setup around this track. You're not going to get things done on a whim, 1 corner at a time. You need to program 2, 3, 4 corners like McMillan's trying to right now. Up the hill now, maybe look at the inside here at this next right. No, going to put the driver out a little bit wider and then get a run here through this fantastic final corner down the hill, known as downhill, and then over towards the Samposi straight once again. It's all about turn 1. Can you get a move sorted into turn 1? How can you use your lap to set up that move?
Yeah, 100%. And even if that's not possible, you've then got to be thinking laps ahead of yourself and everybody else around you in terms of, okay, well, I've got this much pace. I know where he's slower. Where can I set this up so I can try and find a way by? As McMillan with a very big sideways moment out of turn 1 there, trying to get the power down as much as he possibly can. And even Rosenblatt starting to struggle a little bit with power down traction. And that's one other thing that these drivers have to remember. No pit stop is going to mean no fresh tyres. So if you burn your tyres up a little bit too quickly here, you're going to be really on struggle street come the end of the race.
Exactly, great battle going on a little bit further down in the pack. This is the ERT, the Evolution Racing Team machine car of Scott Gamble, who's just had to fend off on this lap Dylan Gulson for 18th place, which is ironically the car number that Scott Gamble's running with at the moment. They say, Cam, in terms of the way that you race, you always race to try and beat your number. More often than not, that's going to be good, but that's not good there for Sebastian Tixier behind. This is going to allow both Kyle George and Corey Shepherd on the recovery to try and find a way through. They're not in position to go out there and attack just yet, but George thinking about the inside, he's not going to get there. But they say, beat your number. At the moment, Scott Gamble only needs 1 position to beat his number.
Yeah, it's certainly a goal that you usually have in official races, and if that's not possible, you want to at least try and equalise it if you can, at least. So we'll see if Scott Gamble can try and improve on his position and try and beat his number, but nevertheless, we'll see what happens. And currently a little bit further up looks like Adam Briggs is very well much checked out from the pack of Bowden Borg and co behind him, and is actually starting to catch Casey Main by quite a margin, about 2/10 that last time by.
And that's going to mean in about maybe 13 laps or so, he's going to be on the back of Casey Mann if this pace could go together. So this is going to be quite interesting in terms of the way that this race is going to be run. But now you start thinking about, okay, mid part of this race comes up in about 3 laps time. We've seen a lot of differences go on, but Andrew Dyson now is starting to fall backwards into the clutches of Jack Widders, who is within 1 second's margin here. It's on for second place, and Jack Widders has just quietly been working away, toiling hard at keeping Andrew Dyson honest, and right now, Jack Widders could be on for a second place.
Yeah, very well much could be on for a second place, Jack Widders, with the rate that he's going at. Not quite sure where the drop in pace has come from for Andrew Dyson. Maybe conserving some fuel, or maybe conserving a little bit of tyre just to help him at the end of this race. But nevertheless, Widders starting to really put a lot of pressure onto the back of Andrew Dyson here as they come through the first few corners and start to head towards the chicane.
Well, that's going to be key. See how this one plays out for these two. On the brakes through the chicane, you can't afford to be too heavy over those anti-cut curves as you go up the hill. They really do kill the runners. The rears really do get lifted up into the air. Then you go through the West Bend. Very much it feels like, say, Barcelona's final rack chicane, and how the final corner of New Holland is very much slower than it used to be. That is very much the case at the West Bend as they now make their way on forward. Now look at James Scott. He's got the first bit of traffic that he's got to work through. Alan Dawson and Steve Janssen. There's Alan Dawson straight out of the way going through, and now Janssen with a chance to pounce.
Yeah, certainly that gap is closed right up now between Dawson and Janssen. Janssen missing the hood of his car and Dawson missing the boot of his car. So it's a bit of a bodywork challenge here between those two and seeing who's got the better aerodynamic efficiencies. But I don't think anyone's really going to be winning too many wars there.
Well, there used to be a program on Channel 4 in the United Kingdom called Scrap Heap Challenge that I used to get up every morning as a child to go and watch, and that's how it looks right now. It looks like one of those Scrap Heap Challenge creations, the way that the boot has been mangled. So that's going to be a tough and tall order to get that one home, but still some brilliant work going on in the field. Check out the train behind Kane Hewson right now. Chang, Michaela, Hansen, Sharp, Collins trying to stay in the mix. Then you got Gamble, Golston, and actually there off goes Tixier as Shepherd down the inside of Kyle George. Replay up on screen of what's happened to Henri Michaela, because there's more issues going on. That was also one Mr. Nathan Moore, who was off into the dirt there and hit the Armco barrier. He slid up the hill on the torque, and then here's what happens to Sebastian Tixier. Almost gets a bit of tap for one and just completely misses his marker because he was frightened with everything around him.
Yeah, it's one of those things you can just get flustered a little bit with cars going in every which direction. Plus he had cars coming left, right, centre behind him as well. McMillan's had a moment.
McMillan's had a big moment here on the brakes, in through the right, up the hill. He's caught the anti-cut curb, he's caught the second one, and then he's gone straight around, and he's called it a day after that because he was so frustrated with himself at such a simple mistake. It takes just one mistake like that to pretty much cost you all the positions, and he said, you know what, my race ain't worth it.
Yes, certainly. Unfortunate for McMillan there to have that happen, but it is one of those things in these shorter tracks and these slightly longer races around these shorter tracks. It makes it very mentally demanding and very tough on a driver to try and be as consistent over a number of laps as Chang making a move up the inside of Kane Hewson there. A little bit of contact as well for good measure, but managed to barely get the job done.
Oh, that was a very aggressive pass, and Kane Hewson has every right to be unhappy because Henri Michaela has just gone cookies. That is my position as the move was made. So now Kane Hewson has to work hard to stay in this pack, which is now all close together. And this one going along for 11th, 10th place right now. All in fighting for one top 10. Here comes Brian Borg, though, down to the inside here of Rob Bowden. This for 6th. And the move is done. So Brian Borg, staying patient, has got it done in that Premier Esports car. He's done very well. Rosenblatt and Smart waiting behind.
Yeah, Rosenblatt and Smart going to be using each other to try and work together to try and find a way past Rob Bowden, and Bowden really going to be struggling under pressure here from the car of Rosenblatt. He's going to want to try and find a way past as quickly as he possibly can. Not going to be able to do it into the chicane here, but gets reasonably good exit out of the chicane. So going to try and set this one up for turn one as Rosenblatt late on the brakes again. You can just see the gap closing and closing every single braking zone, but we'll see what happens into the final corner here and whether the run is going to work. It's pretty even between the two, but Rosenblatt tucked up in the draft of Rob Boney is going to look to the inside, not quite going to be close enough, but tries towards the issue, and they're going to be barely side by side, and Rosenblatt going to just get side by side now as they come through into the left-hander, and Rosenblatt is going to clear him.
Well, that's a fantastic move going through there. He had to work hard for that one all through turn 1 and 2, and he got the move sorted, but it's not complete because there is a chance on this braking zone. It's now a heavy braking zone, this next right-hander, but ultimately no commitment down the inside of this chicane. Maybe in open formula vehicles, you've got a better chance of making that move, but you have to be a lot more precise with the way that you go out there and you attack positions in this vehicle. More battling going on as Houston still tries to find a way back to Michaela as they go on the brakes into the next right of West Bend, now down the hill once again under that Haggerty Bridge, and now through the final corner. Chang has just checked out from this battle going on. You can see how much it's cost them in terms of, well, we can't really stay in pretty much of a number. They're already 1.2 seconds back, and Michaela now is the cork in the proverbial bottle.
Yeah, he certainly is. He did a 52.7 that last time by to Kane Houston's 52.6. So a little bit of pace as Kane Houston got over Michaela, and Chang has done a 52.3 to get back to Michaela's 52.7. So there's a clear pace differential between Chang and Michaela is the cork in the bottle, like you said.
Well, here's some motion simulation replays. These are some of the passes that we saw from earlier. There's the Beau Repairs car there you can see of Redback Racing colours. And this is Kane Houston, who had to try and hold on to the place. This is Alexander Chang's way of getting through. I think we're a little bit earlier. There you go. There's the move. You can see just tags the rear quarter panel and gets the move through, does the 17. Now, that was a little bit naughty in terms of the way that move was done. He did not have an overlap, and we'll get an onboard here. There's the 6th gear car there, Team Hyperdrive in the neon as they went on through, but Kane Houston has every right to be frustrated the way that move was done.
Yeah, it was a very ambitious and late move there from Chang to get up the inside. Possibly could have opened the steering up a little bit, could have Kane Houston, but nevertheless the move did end up happening regardless. Kane Houston coming off a little bit second best and getting a little bit of damage out of that, but Smart now starting to get his move on here and starting to put a bit of pressure on Bowden.
Exactly here, and this is what Rob Bowden's been good at, just holding the momentum, keeping a consistent lap going in the tank. SRT machine. Christian Smart, though, sitting, waiting behind, hoping for an opportunity to make the move. And this is the thing, actually, with the Gone Rogue team. They have been the same outfit, the same group of friends for a very long time. It's been Smart and John Stone and Jack Boyd, and they've been pretty strong with that lineup. Here's my question to you, though, Cam. Do they need someone else to vault them up through the grid a bit more?
It's a very good question you pose, and the answer to that is I don't know, because they've got some good pace, like you said, but they just can't quite seem to have that edge to move up ever so slightly more up the grid. And as Smart makes a mistake there in the chicane, just struggling to get the power down. But yeah, it's one of those things where you can have everybody who's a reasonably good driver, but if you're all on the same sort of level, you kind of can't really advance each other as per se, because you've got no one to more or less benchmark yourself off. As there's a replay of Corey Shepherd out of the final corner by the looks of it, coming down the front straight, possibly going to be a move at turn 1 here. No, move ahead from the car ahead.
Well, there's the move, and then they tried to go 3 wide through this section, which is never going to be a good idea. And then, tag in the back, and they can see straight on into troubles. And Corey Shepherd having a very terrible race. That was Sam Collins who had the tap, and Collins as well, still trying to race it about with Kyle George, who I think's just managed to find a way through potentially. And yes, that was done into turn 1 and 2. So really, Sam Collins, who qualified at the back of the field, that was a little bit clumsy.
Yeah, it certainly was a little bit clumsy, but that said, Collins kind of didn't really have anywhere to go. It was sort of a bunched up pack, and you couldn't really move left or right, more or less. So a bit unfortunate there for Shepherd to end up coming off second best, but nevertheless, it's still going on, and Smart's back on the rear end of Bowden here.
Exactly, and that's the key. So Bowden is trying to hold on to that 8th position. That's where he started. But remember, Christian Smart is up 13 places here in this race. He has systematically picked apart every position possible, and he could be up 14. There's a slow vehicle on the left-hand side. That's the lap traffic of Alan Dawson. They're just getting out of the way of those two, moving forward. Also, keep an eye on this battle going on right now, because Dylan Golson under pressure from Kyle George. George trying to find a way through. It's their pace, it's their power. Nope, not this time here at the West Bend. Gonna have to set it up for turn 1 again.
Yes, certainly. Kyle George going to try to get a run here out of the final corner and set himself up for turn 1, but also has to remember that the car of Samuel Collins is also going to try and do the same thing. Collins with not quite as good of a run, but George looks to the inside, thinks better of it, trying to fill the mirrors of Dylan Goulson as they head into turn 1, and George will have to sit station for another lap.
Absolutely, he will. Marty Hansen as well has just lost a position to Greg Sharp through the opening couple of corners. That was through to turn 1, and there was nothing really in that except for the fact that Marty Hansen misses the apex, runs wide, and then ultimately the door is left open, and effectively anyone could go through. You could have a million horses bolt through that gap.
Yeah, you certainly could. That was a very, very big gap that pretty much almost anything could fit through, more or less. So, yeah, good move by Greg Sharp to get up into another position, but nevertheless, we'll see what happens for this battle between Dyson and Witters, because Witters has sort of dropped off a little bit here from Andrew Dyson.
Well, he dropped off, came back, dropped off, came back. So it's seeming like it's cyclic at the moment as they are trying to go through. So Andrew Dyson currently just holding a margin, but here's the bigger number for Andrew Dyson's race, and it's 13 seconds behind James Scott, who is already a whole Sam Posey straight ahead of the man in second position at this moment in time. Over the line, the gap was 7/10 of a second. It is now 6/10 of a second. Jack Widders there closed 4 thousandths only over that lap. And keep an eye on this one behind as well, because Casey Mann is being kept honest right now by Adam Briggs, 1.3 seconds back with 7 laps to go.
Yeah, Briggs has done a very good job after getting on by the likes of Bowden and Smart in that. But Smart now really all over the back end of Rob Bowden. Tried to make a move on the exit of turn 1, but couldn't quite get the power down. And you can see nearly making contact with the back bumper of Rob Bowden. Looks to the inside, not going to be a gap there, unfortunately.
Well, this is the issue that Christian Smart has. Unable to put the power down up the hill is costing every single run. That's a better run up there through the hill there from Christian, and now he can try and set up the move here through the right at the West Bend and then down the hill at this downhill corner. It's all about setup, momentum, and getting the move done. So setup, momentum, time to try and look to get the move done. And is the move done? No. Just unable to close down in a straight line, which means that they're very much similar. And you've also got this one, Rosenblatt, onto the back of Brian Borg.
Yeah, Rosenblatt's actually done very, very well to end up getting right onto the tail of Brian Borg, and Borg quite a lot slower that last time by 52.6 to Rosenblatt's 52.1. So something's clearly happened in the last lap or so for Brian Borg to end up having a very big lack of pace. Now Rosenblatt's going to have an opportunity here with a mistake from Borg through the chicane.
Bowden. And Bowden's had to straight line the chicane. He's made a big mistake, and position gone, and Alexander Chang's going to be behind as well. So Rosenblatt with a move, the move done. Rob Bowden's lost the place to Christian Smart, and Alexander Chang is on for 9th position right now. And keep an eye on this one for second. It's down to 0.3 of a second at this moment in time.
Yeah, Widders really, really close now and is in a really good position to get a move done on Andrew Dyson here. There's a couple of laps to go, so if he can time it right, he should be able to get into second position, should Jack Widders. But Dyson, a very, very good driver. We've seen him in V8 Scops do some amazing performances and win Split 2 on a number of occasions, so there's clearly a lot of pace behind the wheel of that number 5 machine.
Absolutely there is, and that's going to be key. How to extract, how to unlock that pace of the 5 to keep an arm's length away. The number 4 of Jack Widdus. On the brakes they go. 4 laps to find a move. They've only got themselves less than 10 kilometers remaining here in this race. 9.8 and closing down all the time. Hit the brakes into the next left-hander of turn number 3 out on track. Originally, it was the only left-hander out on circuit, but again, through the right, pick up the run. This chicane is now the vital part of this circuit, the Grand Prix layout here of Lime Rock Park. On the brakes, right up to the back goes Jack Widdus. He is so much more confident under braking.
Yeah, he certainly is. And you can just see the gaps close every single time into the braking zones with the fact that he's just so much stronger under brakes. I do wonder if Dyson has maybe burnt those front tyres up a little bit too much as the run from the car of Jack Widdus is looking reasonable, but it's not quite going to be enough this time around. He looks to the inside to fill the mirrors, looks even deeper, but no gap, so no move done.
Well, he's going to try and pick it up in the second part, gets right up underneath, but has to check up once again. So Dyson doing enough at this moment to hold them up, but the more that they battle, the more that they start to worry. Casey Mann's not a million miles away, 1.9 seconds off of this group, so if dramas do happen, then they are going to be best placed to start chasing it back. Right up again on the brakes goes Jack Widdus to close that down. Some brilliant work going on at the moment. Look behind though to Rob Bowden just for a second though, Cam, because look at how Alexander Chang is pressuring.
Yeah, Bowden's had a very big drop-off in pace as of recently. He's probably burnt up those tyres a little bit too quickly and is really struggling at the moment to try and hold off Alexander Chang, who's doing a really good job trying to find a way on by, but just can't quite seem to do it. Is up into 10th place. Has gained 6 spots in this race, has Chang, so he's doing a reasonably good job, but nevertheless, that gap at the front, you have to remember that Casey Mann also has Adam Briggs not too far behind, and if these two ahead of Mann keep fighting, that gap's going to diminish very quickly. A 52.0 from Mann, and then a 52.3 from Dyson, and a 52.6 from Widdus.
That's going to be the key, but the one final lap flag, the white flag here in iRacing, will come out for James Scott. We haven't really talked much about him today because he's just been so dominant at the moment. He's over 16 seconds clear of the field at this moment in time. The battle's still on for second between Dyson and Widdus, and I think Casey Mann's relying on an incident, and just at this point in time, Jack Widdus is maybe a car length too far back to really do anything. This is where you got to be brave and start putting out the best move possible that you can. You're running out of overtaking opportunities, Jack. If you want to get it done on Andrew Dyson in the DPR car on the brakes through turn 3, how do you set it up here? Through this left and then into the right of turn 4. This is going to be key. Mistake almost there from Dyson, runs a little bit wider. Here comes Jack Widdus' opportunity to try and get this move. He'll have to get it done on the brakes here at this section. Contact between the two. Straight on he'll go, and that's going to be disaster because through goes Jack Widdus. But James Scott will dominate here at Lime Rock Park with a big victory, and all of a sudden, position lost as well. Casey Mann trying to steal one away from Andrew Dyson. Dyson looking down the hill to try and get a run through the final corner, but ultimately, I think he's going to run himself out of and road. Dyson loses the podium on the final lap thanks to Jack Widdus, and contact there is going through. Briggs will get a top 5 finish out of that. In terms of the other battles going on, Chang does get ahead of Rob Bowden, and we do have for you a motion simulation replay of that last lap accident, Cam. That was a huge battle going through, and this is where drama's all unfurled, and you knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, it certainly was. The time was coming, and it was going to be a matter of when, not if, when Jack Widdus would try and find a way on by. He had a sniff at the right hand before the chicane, tried to stick the nose in, but just couldn't quite get the power down and quite get enough of an overlap before he chucked it as deep as he possibly could, made a slight bit of contact with Andrew Dyson, and Dyson unfortunately having to go for a skate across the grass and ending up with a slowdown to lose 2 positions out of that. So he'll be pretty gutted with that, but nevertheless, Casey Mann will be pretty pleased to come away with the podium, and Jack Widdus with P2.
Well, that was a very strong race, but classified results will be up on your screen for you right about now. James Scott waltzing away with one in 30 minutes and 15 seconds. He wins by 17.8 over Jack Widders in second position. Casey Mann will sneak through a podium result with Andrew Dyson going from second to fourth on the final lap of the race. Adam Briggs, his teammate, had to work hard all race long, but just ran out of time to gain any more positions. It's fifth place for him, with Brian Borg up 7 places into 6th place. He finishes ahead of Michael Rosenblatt, a good result in 7th. Christian Smart up 14 places today, the biggest mover in the field. He gets 8th place overall, with Alexander Chang in 9th, getting home ahead of Rob Bowden, who rounds out the top 10.
And just outside at the top 10, Henry Michaela and Greg Sharp in 11th and 12th. 13th to Kane Houston and 14th to Marty Hansen. Scott Gamble rounding out the top 15 with 16th to Kyle George and Samuel Collins in 17th. 18th to Sebastian Texier and Corey Shepard in 19th. And then rounding out the top 20, Dylan Goulson and the rest of your field, Wayne Hewitt, Alan Dawson, Steve Jansen, Nathan Moore and Thomas McMillan rounding out the 25-car field.
Only 2 retirements then today from the race, being Moore and McMillan moving on forward. But there are some really crucial battlegrounds to look at as well. The final 2 rounds of the championship are going to be coming up, and it is going to be a higher strength you'd feel for the next round that's going to be coming up. But importantly, though, for James Scott Cam, those are points, and they may not be the same amounts of points, but when you got Watkins Glen, which is going to come up in conjunction with Scott, and then you go to Mount Panorama Bathurst to end the season, it's going to be a bumper end to this championship.
Yeah, it absolutely is. You're going to have a lot of very, very competitive drivers come out of the woodwork for those last 2 weeks to try and bump the soft up and also try and steal some points from the drivers like James Scott. So we'll see who ends up turning up and what sort of points are going to be on offer. Who knows? We could see some very big softs and some very big points on offer, but nevertheless, really, really looking forward to seeing what happens.
And of course, that's going to be where we close the curtains here on this racing action that you have seen today. A massive thanks have to go to those who get it done for us. Of course, here at SimSpeed, Motum Simulations have been on the replay. And of course, a massive thanks to the iRacing Esports Network for the platform given available to us. You can like, share and subscribe right now and join on the road to 50,000 subs with more brilliant racing coming up in the future, as well as if you go to SimSpeed on YouTube, you can also give them us, so to speak, a little bit of love, as well as all of our partners here on the iRacing Esports Network, RaceSpot TV, Apex Racing TV, the likes of Podium Esports, the Global Sim Racing Channel, all fantastic places to see brilliant sim racing action. But from Jay Kennedy, who's been on the cameras, and Cam Dance, who has been alongside me, I've been Jake Sperry. It's James Scott's night as he walks away, dominates without really any worries at all about the quantification of the result. But he knows now there'll be sterner challenges over the next 2 weeks, and that Altus man has got to really work hard to put the championship all together. It's going to be all about speed and pace and all about the draft when we head to Watkins Glen. We'll see you in New York in 1 week's time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rhythm, outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my god! Oh! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no!
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?